You're about to listen to the Dr. Dahlia Show. Sassy, stimulating medical talk radio. Any medical advice Dr. Dahlia Wax gives on her show should not be substituted for an actual visit to your medical provider. And now, here's Dr. Dahlia.
We're back on the Dr. Dahlia Show, 1-877-DOC-DALI, 1-877-DOC-DALI. So if you've never taken a CCW or a concealed weapons carry class, I would consider it. I think it's a good idea. Even if you don't want to carry a gun, I think you could learn a lot. I've always had my CCW, and I think it's very important. Disclaimer, my grandfather was a cop. My father was in the military. And of course they knew how to use guns and, taught me. And then my grandfather was working in a store on Pico Boulevard in California. This was back in the 60s. Somebody comes up, puts a gun to his head, robs him. Now, he didn't have his weapon on at the time. I don't know what the laws were in the 60s in California, but thank God that was when you could get robbed and not killed. So there wasn't much in the register. He gave him everything, and thank God the gentleman left. But, when things like this happen in your family, in my medical office, somebody comes into the waiting room saying, I'm going to spray bullets. So I get all the staff out. All right. My husband actually gets all the staff out. I start talking to the gentleman. He ends up not having a weapon because he starts kind of taking off his shirt. So I could see he really didn't have, unless there was something, he had an ankle holster or whatever, that we talked him down while we were waiting for the police to come. Thank God. But, you have to have something to protect you and your family. Now, some people have bats. Some people have pepper spray. Some people have, look, that's fine. Whatever you're comfortable with. But you learn a lot with the CCW, and it's an aware. What happens is we get complacent. It's like we opened the show. Well, I don't know if we opened the show, but we talked about how that school where those kids raped another 8th grader. Yeah, and it's a private school. It's school in my neighborhood, school my kids went to, and it reminds you kids are raping other kids. We get into our own little bubble. And we, like the dinosaur, I was watching the dinosaur thing on Netflix. It was okay. I like Morgan Freeman. I learned a lot. It wasn't my favorite series. Jurassic Park is my favorite dinosaur movie. But you get into your YouTube videos or this, and, you turn off the news, or the news doesn't tell you about some of the real life stuff that's going on. It's all about the Oscars or whatever. And you forget that there's just random people walking around that are coming up and pointing a gun at you or attacking you or shooting you. Now, it's interesting. They showed a video. This is why I like these CCW classes, because I keep going for my renewals, and I haven't ever expired, but you relearn things. And so apparently this was on Las Vegas Boulevard. It was like Sahara and Las Vegas Boulevard, where they have that big, store, souvenir store. And it was just broad daylight, and somebody just decides to get mad and then goes out into the street, and while these cars are stuck in traffic, takes a pipe or weapon and starts banging on the car, starts shattering glass. Now, I don't know if there was a baby in the back seat, but you see the person trying to get away. But they're stuck in traffic. They're stuck in gridlock. This is why I didn't like driving in California, because I was always thinking, if somebody was going to try to attack me or carjack me or whatever, where do I go? I'm trapped. I can't move anywhere. So I always like to be on the side where there's a shoulder. I know people are like, don't go into the right lane because it's the slowest. But you have an out. You have an escape. Do you guys ever look at rooms like that? Like when I go to a restaurant, I like my back to the wall so I could watch the doors. I like to be near the exits. The kitchen usually has to have an exit. So I know people like, I don't want to sit by the kitchen. It's too noisy. Oh, no, sit me by the kitchen. In fact, when I was in Israel and a missile was coming in, you got up and you went into the kitchen. That was the bomb shelter. We were right by the kitchen. We got in there. Everybody fit, but that's what we did. We got into the kitchen. We're like, hello. Hey, mashallah. They're talking to each other. Yeah, but so sitting by the kitchen is not a bad thing. Because if God forbid something happens, you could get into the kitchen and they get out. Because there's a back door. These are things people need to think about. If you do have to, a lot, it's interesting. People will kind of in their heads go, okay, well, if somebody's in the parking lot and they're going to do this and they're going to come up to me, then I am going to stand here and I'm going to, no. You got to get your back up against something so that nobody is coming up to you. So you might be sitting there, putting, drawing your weapon, and you might be holding them that you think, but there's somebody else coming. A lot of criminals, they work in twos. I talked to you guys about how there was a case where there was a woman lying in the middle of the street. So the car stops, goes over to the woman to help, and then somebody comes out of the bushes, hits him on the head, or kills him, carjacks him. Now, they'll use women. They'll use, I warned my kids, if there's like a little grandma saying, oh, will you come help me? Say, I'll get my mom to help me. She's a doctor. Let me get my mom. Oh, you don't have to get your mom. You just help me. No. There's traps. And we are being hunted. And maybe watch the dinosaur thing. Interesting how I could relate the two. Because when you watch that dinosaur Netflix show, and like I said, it's meh. But it reminds you how we're just always being hunted. There's always a bigger predator. And with us, we might think we're at the top of the food chain. But no, humans are hunting us. They're watching us. They're looking to see if we're not paying attention. We're on our phones. We're on our, And be aware. Yeah, and I know you don't want to necessarily make eye contact sometimes because sometimes that's how but sometimes making eye contact can be like, look, I know what you are, I know what you're wearing. I'm on the phone right now. I'm actually on live video. Everybody could see. Now, there's smart ways to do it. I also told the class, like I've told you guys, God forbid you're getting attacked. Don't scream, I'm getting attacked, I'm getting raped. Scream fire. People don't want to come and help if you're being attacked. But if there's fire, everybody wants to see the fire. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away. Hi guys, Dr. Dahlia here. Addictions can sneak up on us and come in many forms. Whether it's drugs, alcohol, sex, video games, porn, or something less obvious such as food, internet, or shopping, addiction can seem innocent at first and then evolve into an insurmountable evil. In our book, Addiction Basics, Caitlin Kalikas and I dive into the common addictions and provide tips for identifying and preventing these before they sneak in and take over our lives. Addiction Basics can be found on Amazon or my website, drdahlia.com. Check it out.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited-time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Let's face it, guys, we're living in times where the truth is becoming more suppressed and censorship is increasing at an alarming rate, especially on social media platforms. It's Clyde, and I want to tell you about a safe and secure digital playground we put together just for you. It's aftermath.media. You get access to thousands of Ground Zero archives and podcasts, along with our private social media groups with your basic membership starting at only $7 a month. Each subscription includes tech support, access to the RSS feeds, along with our own chat room and Telegram channel. In addition, the premium membership includes research study groups, webinars, a document and movie library, a live video stream of Ground Zero, a monthly Zoom chat with me, and other bonus content. Be sure to check out our yearly specials as well. Sign up today while you're thinking about it. Sign up at aftermath.media. Again, that's aftermath.media.
On the Dr. Dolly Show, thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. Big thanks to Talk Media Network for making the show happen. Big thanks to Daniel, our producer, and big thanks to you all for tuning in. We really do appreciate it. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter or X at Dr. Dahlia, Facebook, The Dr. Dahlia Show, and on YouTube, click like and subscribe. So, two young Florida girls, teenagers, have been charged with as adults because they plotted a, quote, blood ritual that included butchering a classmate in a bid to, quote, resurrect the Sandy Hook school shooter, Adam Lanza? They want to butcher a classmate to resurrect Adam Lanza? They were talking about, they get arrested. I believe they get put in the same cop car. So they're sitting there joking and laughing and talking about doing their hair and makeup for their mugshots. The teens are Isabel Valdez and Lois Lippert. And you're looking at this as what's going on here? Valdez is 15 years old. Lippert is 14. And they're accused of plotting to kill a fellow student at their Seminole County High School because he reminded them of Adam Lanza, the kid who killed his mom, then went to the Sandy Hook Elementary School and murdered multiple children and teachers and principals. This was back in 2012. But the girls this year allegedly believing that killing the student would resurrect him from the dead as part of a blood ritual. Is this what kids want to do these days? Blood rituals? I don't get that. And apparently this classmate reminded her of Adam Lanza. Now, a motion for pretrial detention was filed by prosecutors. Looks at how Valdez and Lippert wanted to take the fellow student to the bathroom, ultimately stab this kid, or slice his throat. Apparently, the teens came up with the murder plan 3 months earlier. On the day of the planned homicide, the defendant met with the co-defendant in the restroom, where she showed a bag containing Clorox wipes, a towel to muffle the screams of the victim, and the knife that the defendant intended to use. These are two girls, 14 and 15 years old. Another fellow student was told about the plans. Thank God that student came forward and told authorities. The girls were arrested, and then they seemed to be joking around in the cop car. I'm blown away that this is what's going on with kids. Now, digital evidence obtained by police allegedly showing messages sent between the two girls includes statements by Valdez saying, "Holy blank, I'm going to make a blood ritual for Adam Lanza." I'm laughing. She goes, "I hugged my parents extra tight today. I kind of feel bad for what's coming." I mean, they know there's consequences, and they still want to do that? They still think killing another human being, let alone another child, is okay? Teachers aren't picking up on this. I remember my teachers being all up in my business and face. So I'm very grateful for the life I had and the childhood I had, but it was not easy. I got beat a lot. And I was sitting there in class. I was in the 4th grade, and now I'm in my 4th or 5th school. I went to 12 schools. And I'm sitting there chewing on this bow I had. I had this little shirt that said First Mate, and there was a bow. And I'm nervously gnawing on that bow. Now, I didn't realize I was doing that. And I remember my teacher, Mrs. Bade, coming up to me going, "Are you okay?" "Yeah." "Are you hungry?" "No." "Why are you chewing on your shirt?" "I don't know." Because I didn't want her to call my parents. I was chewing on my shirt. Now, my guess is that, I really liked chewing gum. I liked biting on my pencil, and you weren't allowed to bite your pencil or chew gum. So I don't know. Maybe I felt like I needed to stick something in my mouth. Who knows? But I got over that. That was the last time I ever chewed on my shirt. And I don't know why I was chewing. I didn't even realize I was doing that, but I must have been so nervous or something must have happened that I was in a different world at the time. And so I'm sitting there in class, and I was acing my classes. But I'm sitting there, but I mean, my teacher was all over that. Do teachers really get to know their students? Do they, and I understand students do have, or parents, or I'm sorry, teachers have to, report abuse and things like that. Where did that bruise come from? Things like that. But do teachers really kind of get into conversations with students? I think many worry that there's liability. Why did you talk to my child? Why were they alone with you? My child said you did this to them. No, I didn't. I just met them after class. I don't know what's happening now. In fact, in California, teachers are citing discipline problems, while 40% are planning to quit in the next decade. They are citing lack of support for teachers to address behavior issues and overall decline in standards. This comes from Ed Week's 2026 installment of the State of Teaching report. Found 40% of teachers in California are planning to retire or quit in the next 10 years. Fox News Digital spoke with 6 California teachers, many of whom had 30 years teaching experience. They said, I would like to see a shift in attitude towards teachers as an authority. Teachers have, since we are the professionals, the right to make decisions, education decisions, curriculum decisions, rules, and consequences. I remember getting spanked by my teachers. I didn't like that. I didn't think that was good. But I got to tell you, I was so fearful of them telling my parents that I was like, I'd rather have the spanking in school. What did I do that was so bad? Oh, I would make jokes in the back of class. I would, if I thought, I got to tell you the content. I mean, they would just pitch something. It's like I could just hit those one-liners. I was pretty good at comedy, but they don't like that. They want to be the star of the show, and they don't want me to make other people laugh. Now, I told you my son, his very first parent-teacher conference was in first grade, and his teacher says, there's something I want to talk to you about. I'm like, oh no, it's his grades. What's wrong? She's like, well, it's quiet time, and I'm sitting there reading a story, and then your son will just blurt out and make a joke while I'm trying to get everybody ready for nap time. And I go, do the other kids laugh? She goes, yes, yeah, they laugh, and it disrupts the whole class. I go, so you're telling me, and I'm blown away by this, that my son has comedic timing? She's like, I'm telling you, he's disrupting the class. Oh, I know. He's a bad boy, very bad boy. But they're laughing. I was like, my baby has comedic timing. I was, but you can't teach that. I mean, I got comedic timing, but I we're not very talented in my family. I was amazed. I was happy. But of course I had to, feign to the teacher that I was very, very concerned and there would be consequences at home. But I was like, oh, my baby, I've never been so proud. Oh, so proud. But I get it. Teachers, used to have this control. You did what the teacher said. Don't make the teacher mad. You're going to get detention. You're going to have to clean the chalkboards. You're going to have to write a 500-page essay. But that was because the parents partnered with that teacher. And the parents would say, now, look, you got to keep them. Now, so many teachers in schools are being taught, you don't tell the parents. But the child wants to be a boy and not a girl. Don't tell the parents. But the child, don't tell the parents. The parents are going to kill him. The parents are going to beat him. So these kids are like, they're not going to call my parents. See, me, I grew up in an age where your parents got called. And oh boy, when that happened, out came the belt. So I never wanted the school calling my parents. Ever. But nowadays, that mind you, I understand why. Kids were getting beat. Schools didn't want that to happen to the kids. But then on the other end, these kids there's no consequences. Everybody's getting a trophy. Everybody's getting a sticker. And so these teachers are like, they tell a teacher to shut up or whatever. The kid's not doing it. And so thinking and hearing that, and, I guess the teachers were striking in San Francisco and we know there's nurse burnout, doctor burnout, but teachers, they're like, I'd rather work at home, not come in, not get sick, not be attacked. There was a kid last year that raped his teacher. Now teachers aren't going to want to be around kids. It's frightening. 1-877 Doc Dolly.
At Hot Shot Secret, we share the science behind common diesel problems and their solutions. For example,
diesel fuel cetane levels.
in many states, the cetane rating in diesel fuel is 42 to 45. Most diesel engines operate more efficiently with a cetane rating of 48 to 50. One treatment of Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme will raise your cetane 7 points, increase fuel economy, and improve cold starts. Due to a cleaner burn, there are less hydrocarbons and particulate matter in your exhaust. This reduces the blockage of your diesel particulate filter. Using Diesel Extreme generates 83% less DPF regeneration. The 6-in-1 Diesel Extreme formula also includes the most concentrated detergent on the market, lubricity enhancer, water demulsifier, rust and corrosion inhibitors, and a fuel stabilizer.
Hot Shot Secret Diesel Extreme is available nationwide at truck stops, fine farm and auto stores, and online at hotshotsecret.com. Hot Shot Secret.
Powered by science.
We're back on the Dr. Dolly Show. Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877 Dr. Dolly, 1-877 DOCDALI. So for those of you who live in the Midwest and East Coast, you guys have been dealing with a lot of storm. We have been told that 24,000 flights have been disrupted because of this extreme weather. And I guess many individuals are on spring break right now. So I think in my neck of the woods, spring break is the first week of April. I always thought spring break was the week that culminates with Easter. So Passover and Easter are always on spring break, but I think sometimes that doesn't happen. But according to the latest FlightAware data, the total number of flight disruptions for the Sunday through Tuesday period had surged past 24,000 flights. 17,000 delayed and close to 7,000 cancellations. It began as a historic blizzard in the Midwest. Minneapolis, St. Paul, Chicago O'Hare was buried in snow, according to Fox Weather. Now there is a high impact severe weather event for the East Coast. So there's been ground stops and delays in Atlanta, Charlotte, Dulles Airport, and high winds hitting Philly and New York. Multiple flights have been affected. And so there's a level 4 severe weather outbreak. They say it is fastly approaching the I-95 corridor. Scattered storms throughout the morning, but the primary squall line is expected to tap into peak daytime. This afternoon, there's going to be a high-speed wall of wind moving towards the East Coast, and there's going to be some critical windows. According to Fox Weather, because these storms are going to be moving northeast at 60 miles an hour, your window to react will be small. There's going to be dangerous winds and tornado threats in D.C., Baltimore, Philly, Jersey and New York, Delaware and Eastern Shore. So the most intense weather is going to be timed during the evening commute, sadly. So local officials in Maryland, Virginia have already dismissed many schools to avoid having buses on the road while they are expecting winds of 80 miles per hour, hurricane speed. They said if you are on the I-95 corridor, we have an I-95 in Las Vegas, Nevada. It's a different I-95. They say aim to be at your safe destination by 4 p.m. Eastern. So major museums are shutting down. It's going to be a bad storm. In the meantime, for those of you who are, already at the airport, you're probably hoping, okay, well, I want to get home. Well, there's delays, and you might actually miss your flight. Why? Well, because the Democrats still have not approved funding, and we're short on TSA agents because many of these TSA agents are, and gratefully so, working without full pay. We are 1 month into the partial government shutdown. We've had people quit. Now, others are taking time off. According to the Department of Homeland Security, 300 TSA agents have quit. This weekend, TSA workers missed their first full paycheck since the partial shutdown began mid-February. Funding for DHS has not been full because the Democrats are playing around again. And so in a letter Sunday, the CEOs of major airlines, including American, Delta, Southwest, JetBlue, urged Congress to restore DHS funding and embrace a bipartisan solution to ensure federal aviation workers are paid during the shutdown. See, this stuff should never happen. There are aspects of the government that need to be paid. Bipartisanly, Republicans and Democrats want our TSA paid, but they want to defund ICE, the Democrats, which Canada isn't defunding their ICE. Mexico isn't defunding theirs. They deport. They deport criminals. They deport individuals that bypass the line. But Democrats want to not allow ICE to have funding, even though ICE, I think, still does have funding. But they want to make this stand. And so it screws over you and I who need to go to the airport and need to get screened. It also is very dangerous, being that we have enemies and sleeper cells and who have been activated. You would think this is when bipartisanly they'd want to make sure that we had all hands on deck and that they were fully funded. But no, they want to play a game. And I mean, what I don't understand is, if I was a congresswoman, I would talk to my legal immigrants, the ones who busted their asses to get here and to go through the legal process. And I would ask them, how do they feel? What should we do about the people that skipped the line? And my hunch is 99% of them would say, no, they got to get to the back of the line. Just interview anybody at the DMV. You've been waiting here how long? I've been here 2 hours. Okay? Well, we have somebody who wants to cut through. They paid somebody to get them over the hump, front of the line path. No. Get them out of here. Yeah, I think, America is a pro-immigrant country. We support our immigrants that are coming here legally. I'm a daughter of an immigrant. And so where they've changed this messaging with ICE, now again, if it's all about the votes, that's why people are, they're like, well, we could get these illegal immigrants to vote with it because they don't have to have ID. And now we got the numbers and now we can win. Just use common sense, people. Unfortunately, though, maybe what TSA needs to do. The reason why the shutdown stopped last time is because the constituents were like, this is where's our SNAP benefits? Wait a second. Okay, I didn't elect you to not let me get my SNAP benefits and no, this sucks. And maybe TSA agents say, all right, we're not getting paid, so we're done. Sorry. We're not going to work. And that might actually get the Democrats to approve the funding faster. If we don't get paid, we don't show up to work. Now, God bless them for still doing that and working because they realize they'll get back pay. But maybe the shutdown will end faster if the TSA agents are like, sorry, we're shut down. No flights for a month. I'll tell you right now, Democrats will vote today to get them back open. They're relying on these TSA agents to work for free. And there's not enough TSA agents in somebody's district. Now, there are delays, but the average person, they're delayed. If they don't have another flight, they just go home. They don't necessarily write their congressperson. So, I think there's a way to get this shutdown ended. And there's a way to address illegal immigrants, criminals that got through. If you're here illegally, you got to go to the back of the line. These legal immigrants were here first. It's the DMV. That's exactly what we've all had to follow a line. Hundreds of TSA employees have quit this time around, according to Everett Kelly, National President of the American Federation of Government Employees. They're the union that represents 46,000 uniformed TSA workers. They say most Americans would quit their jobs if they didn't get a paycheck on payday. I don't blame them. Last year, 1,100 officers separated from TSA in October and November. Now, I think some of them got hired back. But if you remember, many of the air traffic controllers that had retired had to come back, had to be asked to come back and paid really well because they needed them. Now, air traffic controllers, from what I understand, are staffed this time around because when they passed it, the reconciliation package, they made sure that SNAP benefits when it gets screwed over. I think that's funded till September. I think air traffic controllers are funded to September, but not TSA agents and other aspects. If I was a TSA agent, even though I would probably still go in and do my job. I wouldn't blame any of you if you said, you know what, to heck with this. Now, mind you, I have a flight coming up, but I totally understand. I completely understand. You shouldn't have to. This is ridiculous. You deserve to have a steady paycheck. 1-877 Doc Dolly, don't go away.
Carl Amari here to tell you about our newest website for old-time radio lovers. It's 100radioshows.com. At this site, there are 5 old-time radio shows waiting for you to download free as our gift to you, and be sure to browse the additional 700 old-time radio shows available to you for 70% off by using the promo code RADIO at checkout. This is a limited time offer, so log on to 100radioshows.com. That's 100radioshows.com.
Have you ever thought you'd like to buy and sell houses but didn't know how or where to get the money? My name is Ron LeGrand, and over the past 40 years, I've bought over 3,000 houses without using my money or credit and taught thousands to do the same. Today, even in a virtual environment, we buy nice houses in nice neighborhoods using no banks, realtors, contractors, or other costly entanglements, and build huge cash flow and wealth without the hassle of tenants, all without credit and little or no money. You don't need a license or experience, and I'll show you exactly how it's done. Text FREE to 99799, and I'll send you my free training. I promise you I'll change the way you think about real estate and open the door to a new lifestyle that doesn't involve risk or rehabs and can quickly replace your current income. Text FREE to 99799, and let me show you how to take your life back and build cash flow and wealth from your home. That's FREE to 99799. Again, FREE to 99799.
As an organ donor, your story doesn't have to end. The good in you can live on. In fact, you could save up to 8 lives and restore sight and health for many more. Sign up right now online as an organ, eye, and tissue donor. You'll be happy you did. And just maybe, someone else will be happy too. Go to organdonor.gov. It saves lives. U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration.
Thank you all for tuning in. 1-877-DOC-DOLLY, 1-877-DOCDALI. So this headline is absolutely ridiculous. So The Guardian has a headline saying that officials missed 99% of data before ending the COVID vaccine recommendation. Now, they're not talking about the COVID vaccine and the data that Biden did not review or have with the mandate. They are talking about and criticizing RFK Jr., saying all pregnant women and every healthy 6-month-old doesn't necessarily have to get the COVID vaccine. They're talking about that. And they're saying that officials missed 99% of data. Okay, what data? That do we know enough about what the vaccines do to fetuses? You mean of the limited data? So there's a lawsuit against the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services because they said, look, we're not going to make the widespread recommendation for every pregnant woman and every baby, infant. If the parents want it, if the family wants it, if the OB wants it, and the patient wants it, up to them. But we're not going to say every single 6-month-old needs an mRNA COVID vaccine, which I think a lot of doctors kind of agreed with. I know a lot of OBs were like, yeah, not every pregnant woman needs a COVID vaccine, especially now. But they're getting sued. According to critics, they say the memos overlooked hundreds of studies on the benefits and safety of COVID vaccine and set the precedents for making changes to vaccine recommendations based on ideology instead of evidence. They said officials are making dramatic changes to the immunization recommendations in the U.S. Members of the Advisory Committee on Immunization Practices, several of whom have expressed anti-vaccine views, signaled they are taking up vaccines in pregnancy. The committee is scheduled to meet Wednesday and Thursday. And they suggest that there might be recommendations to not use COVID vaccines on a general level. If somebody wants the COVID vaccine, they're high risk, they could have it. But from a general standpoint, they're thinking about withdrawing that recommendation, which, by the way, other countries have also. Not every country is telling that every pregnant woman to get the COVID vaccine. So are you saying they are ignoring data also? Oh, no, it's okay because it's not under the Trump administration. Really? They say on May 27th, RFK Jr., HHS Secretary and longtime vaccine opponent, he's been critical of vaccines, said they made a unilateral change to COVID vaccine recommendations via a post on X, reshaping what is routine. And they would no longer recommend for healthy children and pregnant people the COVID vaccine. Oh, how horrible. I agree with that. If somebody's high risk, you know what they're forgetting, by the way, there might be all sorts of data saying that a pregnant woman could have a COVID vaccine, that a pregnant woman could have an energy drink, that a pregnant woman could dye her hair. There may be tons of data saying it's safe. That doesn't mean we have to recommend it, and it doesn't mean the patient has to do it. What they're not taking into account is that the average pregnant woman didn't want to get the COVID vaccine. That the average 6-month-old baby's parent was like, another shot? Really? If the parents don't want to do it, and the pregnant women don't want to do it, and a lot of the OBs don't want to do it, I mean, that's what's, leading a lot of this guidance. Is COVID killing thousands upon thousands of pregnant moms? We don't believe so. Can COVID kill somebody pregnant? Absolutely. Can COVID cause blood clots? Can COVID cause cytokine storm? Can it cause heart attacks, strokes, myocarditis? Absolutely, COVID can. Yes. But there's also risks to the vaccine. And if a pregnant mom is like, I don't want to give my baby anything more than I have to, shouldn't that be her prerogative? As long as the baby's healthy and the OB's in agreement? I told you I was talking to a patient and I asked her, if she tested for COVID and all that and flu because she was sick. And she goes, can you believe they want to get rid of all the vaccines? I go, who wants to get rid of all the vaccines? The pharmacy? No. The government wants to get rid of all vaccines. Where did you hear that? I didn't hear that. I heard all the vaccines are still available. They're just not recommending COVID vaccine to healthy 6-month-olds and healthy pregnant women. But you could still get the COVID vaccine if you want. It's there. The misinformation, the lies, it's ridiculous. 2 internal memos on vaccination during pregnancy and childhood, both dated May 12th, circulated at U.S. health agencies before the decision and are now a part of this lawsuit by the American Academy of Pediatrics. Kevin Alt is an obstetrician and gynecologist who served as an expert for the vaccine task force until outside representatives were excluded. And he said, I was blown away by those memos. Missed 99% of the data on the topic. Listen, let's say there were studies showing, and there were studies showing, that the COVID vaccine was safe in pregnant patients. Does that mean every pregnant patient has to have it now? I mean, that, we're doing so much. Should a pregnant mom take vitamins? Absolutely. And take folic acid? Yes. We have seen proof that if they aren't getting a lot of folic acid, they're not getting enough folic acid, they could have neural tube defects, the fetus could suffer. We want to make sure these pregnant moms don't get Zika. Zika was causing babies to have anencephaly and poor brain growth, and these kids would die. I mean, there's been studies showing that in some cases, the marijuana did not hurt the fetus. Are we going to tell moms to use marijuana? Hell no. Of course not. I think marijuana is a risk. So what are we going to tell every pregnant woman they have to do? Well, they should be screened for HIV. They should be screened for syphilis. They should make sure that they don't have an infectious disease that could affect the baby. They shouldn't be given live vaccines. We don't necessarily give the chickenpox vaccine or the MMR while you're pregnant. We don't do the live flu vaccine. We'll do the inactivated version, the killed version. So we're not making them sick. They should hydrate. They should be evaluated for blood clots and heart disease and lung disease. They should consider the flu vaccine to not get the flu. But in this day and age with COVID, I don't think it has to be mandated that everybody needs to get the COVID vaccine. It's ridiculous how these medical groups. I mean, they always say, well, because I'll say, why aren't we screening more thyroid disorder in kids? Why are we? Oh, no, we don't want to do too much. Well, so we're not doing blood work. We're not examining their thyroids. We're not checking their kidney function, seeing what they're. Why aren't we doing that more? No, we don't want to do too much to kids. It's not cost effective. But it's cost effective to give a 6-month-old a COVID vaccine that only has a few months of immunity, or that only has, where the immunity wanes. That's cost effective? Come on. You identify if a child has an underactive thyroid early, you can affect their periods properly then, diabetes, obesity. Why aren't we screening for that? So there's a lot of hypocrisy. 1-877-Doc-Dolly, don't go away.
Can you believe, with all the recent violent protests, looting, and destruction, some areas are considering either defunding or abolishing the police? At a time when America's neighborhoods need the protection of police the most, some elected officials would rather create more chaos by playing politics. If you're sick of elected officials caving in to demands of the radical left, you're not alone. It's time we stand up and declare our support for local police. The majority of police officers are important partners in protecting our God-given rights. If you prefer freedom over chaos, then learn how you can help protect the local police that serve your community. Call today and request your free Support Your Local Police info packet. Dial 800-JBS-USA-1. That's 800-JBS-USA-1. Request your free Support Your Local Police info packet by calling 800-JBS-USA-1 today.